Welcome to Ohms Lounge with your host, Ohms and the Lone Salesman. And it's been a long time coming, but we're back. And today we're going to talk about movies and shows we've watched in 2023 and some shows we're looking forward to in 2024. What's going on, Josh?
Nothing much. College got me down.
Got you down bad?
Yeah, it's got me down bad. My wife won't get off my back.
God damn.
So here we are talking about movies and TV shows, so we can talk about the little things in life to help distract us from our issues.
Yeah, all good. I think, it's been a while. I mean, I've been wanting to do this, but I think life has gotten in the way, work, college, all that. But it's finally good to sit down and crack one of these open and take care of this. So I think we both watched some different shows and movies. So maybe we'll go in the list we made and talk some of these shows I've watched, some of the shows you've watched. So it'll make it a little interesting. So I think the first show we have here is Krapopolis,
Krapopolis.
So what is this? Tell me about Krapopolis.
So Krapopolis, it's from Adult Swim, Dan Harmon, and he was the co-creator for Rick and Morty. This one is basically about a bunch of Greco-Roman gods. I can't remember which one is correct or what it's trying to go for.
Okay.
But yeah, which one is it for Olympus and Zeus?
I think that's Greek gods.
Greek? All right. Yeah, so it's like that. It's just basically like kind of like slapstick humor, and
Okay.
I really enjoy it. It's got Duncan Trussell in it as a voice actor, so that's like what really got me into it, because I really enjoy him as a comedian, and I enjoyed some of his work that he's done before. So that's all I really got to say about it. I think it's fun. I think it's funny.
And how many episodes was it? Was it like a long binge, or was it just like one short season?
Let me see here. It says here it's got how many episodes? Apparently, it's got 17 episodes, and it's on season 3 right now.
Wow. So how many episodes did you watch?
I've watched up until, because it was still going. Let me see. What was Dungeons and Deliria, Heist, Telltale, Herdia. About 10 episodes, I'd say.
Okay, so you went pretty far into it for the first season.
Yeah, because they're all about like 30 minutes long, which I think is a good block of time to invest in.
It looks like the show's still going up until 2024, so the latest season's still going now.
Yeah.
Is it a chronological order show, or is it kind of like an anthology where random episodes they don't really connect, or is there like an overarching story? Like it just
basically it's about this son that's a son of a goddess or whatever, and he's ruling a kingdom, and he's got like a cyclops sister and an amphibian brother.
Okay.
And his stepfather or father is like what are they called? Damn, what are they called in D&D? Well, basically he's like
looks like a
centaur.
Is it like chimera or something?
Yeah, something like that.
A scorpion tail and dragon wings. And
a
minotaur.
I forgot like what the term is in D&D is, but
okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And then mom, of course, is a goddess, so he's having to deal with all of her shenanigans.
Uh-oh.
Like, she's really likable.
Is she supposed to be like Hera or something?
I can't remember which god or goddess that she's supposed to be.
Okay.
Apparently, nah. I think she's like the Deliria, so I'm guessing like she'll make it all about her, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. She's just funny. She's just a silly person, and she's very about herself, and she'll always just talk shit on her son, and her son's just there trying to actually have a good, meaningful life for the kingdom and make things good. He's a do-gooder, and she's just kind of like shitting over everything
So
that he's doing.
is
But
he like a demigod? So is he human and god, or was he adopted?
well, he's half. I think they talk about that, or at least show some of that in in the later episodes.
Okay.
I yeah, I mean, like it. Honestly, it's just one of those TV shows that I just turn on, kind of turn off my brain and laugh whenever there's like a good punchline. Like I'm like half listening to it and watching it. The animation's good. It's just something that I put on whenever I'm studying or just bullshitting on the computer. I really enjoy it.
It reminds me of one of those shows. Yeah, Adult Swim's kind of good for. You would just kind of tune in and kind of half watch it, kind of half don't watch it.
Oh yeah, because like there's definitely some parts in it that will get you like, holy shit, what the fuck is that all about?
Yeah, just okay. So like interesting. So it's kind of you could just tune in. Would you recommend it to like a casual viewer or
Oh yeah,
something?
definitely casual. Like
Okay,
if you're looking for something that's, I mean, I particularly like animated television shows a lot.
okay,
Because like I really enjoy looking at the animation studios that are behind it. I like how they end up making the jokes written to be kind of timeless, because like the thing is with animated TV shows and is that like it's really difficult to make something funny for a long time, and the way and something that some of these studios have learned. One example is Ugly Americans. They like to use like current humor, right?
right.
And
Pop
so
culture
like
references and whatnot.
yeah, a lot of that. And so this it doesn't have any of that. So it's just kind of
Okay,
like turn it on, and if it's a good, well written joke, and it really does help to have Duncan Trussell on there because he is a comedian. So I'm sure he's there in the writing room, like
interesting.
reviewing some of the scripts. So
And,
it's good.
and you
It's
watched
well
it
written.
on Hulu?
I guess so. I usually just it looks like it's on Fox and Hulu.
Cool. Well, okay. So moving on, you do recommend it. Maybe I'll give it a watch too. So next we have The Bear season 2. So I got into The Bear this year. I've heard nothing but good things about it. I fell in love with this first season. Lip, where the main actor, he is from Shameless. So I already kind of liked him from that. Did you get a chance to tune into The Bear as well?
Yeah, that's one that I binged. I really really enjoyed it. Ever since the first season, and uh Maddie Matheson, I really enjoy him as a personality, and it was cool to see that he was a producer on this show. Um, I really, of course, you just said Lip from Shameless. He's really good. I like him as an actor. It's really cool to see them doing really good stuff with this. It's based in Chicago. You're from Chicago, so and I was out there stationed for a little bit, so it's kind of neat. Like because like once you been out there in Chicago, you know how it kind of is, like the asshole people, the atmosphere.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, Jeremy Allen White, that's the main actor, and he actually, I think, got an Emmy for this one, or he got some award, Golden
Mm,
Globe or whatever. Um, the way he portrayed like the main character was really nice, and the whole vibe of Chicago. Italian. So it's based off a restaurant that's supposed to be like an Italian beef restaurant, and Italian beef is like super, famous over here in Chicago, and I love the scenic shots of Chicago, showing the Chicago Loop, the trains. It has this way of making Chicago look, beautiful and very cinematic at times. I think the openings to the shows, or just the transitions, really gets me into it, and the chaotic nature of the show really kind of draws me in and makes me stressed out. I mean, the funny thing was, um, I had a friend who was a chef, and he said the show kind of gave him PTSD because it was so kind of real on how stressful and chaotic the you know the kitchen can be. So
mhm.
the fact that they captured that I think another movie was called Burn, or there was another chef movie I watched, and I was just kind of shocked at the violent nature of how the kitchen can be. It kind of reminded me of how chaotic things could be on the ship too. So it was. I really enjoyed it. Now, when I got to season two, I personally I felt a little bit of a drop off, and I know they're trying to kind of advance the story and the characters, and it feels like everyone kind of, I wouldn't say settles themselves, but there's an arc where everyone becomes, like, I guess, less shitty, or become, has a overall um realization that, hey, I want to do something real. I just don't want to be a piece of shit. Like some of the main characters, Richie, for example, he's a total piece of shit in season one, and by the end of the season, he's a talented host. And then you have characters like Tina, who she's like the Cuban chef or whatever. She's kind of no nonsense, doesn't want to listen, and then finally listening to the character, Sydney. She's also like kind of a new grad, kind of fresh, and kind of straightens people up. And her and the bear essentially transform this crew into an actual you know real restaurant staff doing the French style line cook thing. And then the other character too, I think Marcus, he ends up becoming a pastry chef, and every character has their flaws, but no one's like kind of, it's very fascinating the way they written all the characters. They feel so real to me. Like I could be running into these guys at the Chicago Loop or whatever. But overall, I think by the end of season two, it kind of ends on a downer without any spoilers. The bear has some sort of a PTSD, not only from cooking. They kind of sprinkle that in as why he is the way he is, and then some of it's from family, some of it's from previous occupation, and by the end he still kind of screws himself over and some of the other people. But so I'm really anticipating like season three. So I don't know. I mean, anything else you think you could add? I mean, your takeaways from the show?
I was like looking at some of the trivia, and apparently, like no hand doubles were used in the making of the show. All the actors did all of the chopping and prep. So, so I mean, I think I think that alone really adds the authenticity of the TV show. So like you if you've ever worked in food, I think it's definitely a watch. Or if you ever or if you know anybody that has worked in food, I'm sure that they would really enjoy watching this, and then you can like kind of poke their head about it. It's a good conversation um piece, I think, because anytime you go
Absolutely.
out, you're good. Yeah, because like anytime you would go out and eat some food or whatever, you could just kind of have a better understanding of like what's going on behind the scenes, and like how much, like if you ever bitch about like shitty service, like reflect for a second.
Yeah,
Reflect for a second. And you're like, hmm, I wonder if there's something going on. Like give a person a break. Like please be
yeah.
kind to people that handle your fucking food.
I know, dude. And then just the reality of like how financially hard it is to running it as a
Oh yeah.
business. The whole, I think the first subplot of the first season was the financials of the show, or the restaurant, and they keep blaming his what's his brother that passed away. They're like, oh, he and then in the end it's like, okay, well, maybe he did have a plan this whole time. And then you have the Uncle Jimmy, the mafioso kind of character. He's connected, but you don't really know like how connected he is, and whatnot. Everyone wants a piece, and I don't know. I love that little like it was tastefully done. It wasn't like too like you know how to describe, like kind of out there or cartoony, or how the way his the mobster or organized, like you don't really know what he's doing to make how he made all this money, but you just know he was connected and did something, and then he's able to back fund or fund this whole thing. So yeah, overall, I definitely recommend it. There's a new season coming out this year, June, so
Yep.
I am looking forward to that one. So definitely give it a watch. So next up we have Beef. So this one's interesting to me. I did see some stuff about this. I saw some I guess I saw it on Netflix. It was on the homepage a few times, but apparently you watched this show a little bit. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this?
Dude, this is like basically all right, so my wife, she's Asian for context, right? And um she loves this show. She absolutely loves it. And
Really?
I'm like, this is funny because I don't really see her get so invested into TV shows, let alone dramas.
So it's a
Um
drama.
so so this is definitely a drama. This is it's kind of fucking wacky, dude. I don't know. Basically, this guy, he's just there, um, leaving like Costco or some shit, and he's buying a bunch of fucking like grills, and um, he one of them ends up falling out of his truck. He's trying to get it, and then he ends up getting cut off by somebody in another vehicle while he's driving, and this person like stops, throws a fucking cup at his car, and he just goes after this person and just like starts like uh just basically like harassing this person, right?
So some sort
And
of like
they just
road
get
rage
so
incident.
involved. Oh yeah, it's a road rage incident. Um, and both people just take this the completely like in the worst way. As far as handling it is concerned, and they end up getting into each other's lives and just really fucking shit up. Like
I mean, I
it's
think
pretty bad.
it's kind of interesting. So to me, it's kind of like that fantasy play out. You know, it's kind of like what we always talk about in private. You know, just the idea of doing something to someone that's wronged you in some way. Like you know, saying it is almost therapeutic. That you know you're not actually going to do it, but if you could get away with it, and then so this show kind of is almost a character study too. I guess you know. Um, that's just the way.
It's a few things. So you got Ali Wong on it, another comedian. She's been pretty vocal about like her divorce with her previous husband. Uh, and I think this has a bit of her own history into it. So this is kind of like her swan song, if you will,
Okay.
her kind of expressing all the things that she couldn't say, and she felt that this was the way to say it, and also like a way to kind of let herself be known.
And
and
this is a mostly Asian led
oh yeah.
stars or cast, I guess.
Yeah, Steven Yoon and Ali Wong, dude, they kill it. Like I didn't know this for the longest time, and we'll get into it later. But Steven Yoon, he's a voice actor for Invincible and all this other
Oh
stuff.
yeah. So
Yeah.
is this show like a oh yeah, he's from Walking Dead.
Yep.
So is this show more so like a limited series? Does it end at a cliffhanger? Or is it kind of just a one time, you know, thing?
Um, I would be really surprised with how they would go about a second season because I felt like they wrapped it up pretty well.
Okay. I mean I kind of like
Um,
that though. It's
yeah.
like, you know, you're not really it's like a 10 episode series and
Yeah,
what
it's pretty
they're
long though.
what
How long are each episode? It's like what, somewhere close to like the 45-minute mark, close to an
okay.
hour.
So I mean that's doable though. You can kind of binge it, but also kind of space it out between a few days, and then kind of feel
I
sad.
was left binging it, dude. I really did enjoy a lot of the writing and for that show. I enjoyed it a lot. I
Oh,
actually skipped ahead a few more episodes than my wife. So hey, but she doesn't have to know that.
and then you're like pretending when you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, oh no, you're trying to act surprised or something. I mean, I
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
that with the boys, which we'll get into later. Because you know, she actually approached me wanting to watch it because I guess she figured, hey, you're into superheroes and this looks pretty crazy. I think you know, it had a famous Japanese actress, so I think it was kind of marketed well here in Japan. Um, so okay, so Beef, yeah, definitely want to check it out myself. Anything else you want to say about it, or I think
Nah, it's good. I'd say check it out while you can. I'm not sure how long or like what the rotations are for certain shows on Netflix are, so
I
be
see.
aware of that.
I think being a Netflix exclusive, it'll probably stay there, but who knows? So
Yeah.
the next show I have is Ahsoka, which I don't think you were into that much. So
Never
this
watched it. I
so
actually only know the meme.
what's the meme?
Luke, did I ever tell you about Ahsoka Tano? She was your father's exotic teenage alien apprentice, a fine piece of jailbait from a more civilized age.
Okay, so they introduced the Ahsoka character in I think Mandalorian season 2 or 3. So we knew I think that whole season was about introducing characters who would have their own spin-offs. You know, they had Boba Fett and a few others. I mean, Luke Skywalker showed up. So Ahsoka is a character coming from the Clone Wars. Also, she shows up in Rebels. So this storyline kind of continues the Rebels storyline years later. The search for Ezra, and what I could say about this show is I don't know. I was a little bit conflicted. Sorry. As you know, one of the main characters, the one of the antagonists, Ray Stevenson, he passed away, which I think he was one of the more interesting characters, which is sad to say because they kind of left him. Well, he didn't. Well, spoilers, but he's still around. And it was a little disappointing to hear that he's not available because he was kind of a way better depiction of what I'd call a fallen Jedi. He kind of lost his way, but not quite a Sith. He's just kind of has his own weird mentality of why he wants to do the things he does. And then, of course, he has his apprentice, I think Shinhati or whatever her name was. I don't know. It was kind of a show that kind of was geared towards, you know, girls get it done kind of thing, which I think Ahsoka in her own right was a strong character in the original series. And then you had the other side character or other leading lady, Natasha Liu Bordizzo or Sabine Wren. And her character as well. I wasn't a huge fan of how they handled it, but I'm not like against it. I just think the way they dealt with it made them seem kind of incompetent at times because they would make some decisions where it was a bit puzzling. So I don't know. I'm a bit conflicted about the show. I mean, I really enjoyed it. Story with Admiral Thrawn was cool. I mean, the only weird part was okay, so they're stuck on this planet, and you have Ezra Miller. He's another stakeholder from the Rebels show, and they're kind of both stuck on this planet, and it's kind of a race to get to this planet. Either both sides were like, okay, we got to save Ezra, and then the other Empire side they wanted to get Thrawn to revive the Empire. It's like so. There's a lot of questions as to, you know, how did they survive this long, and all those things don't really matter, but it does somewhat add in a satisfying conclusion. I mean, they do. I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but I guess it's like kind of having the Star Wars fatigue a little bit here, though. I mean, it didn't quite hit all the things I wanted to see. I think a lot of people were kind of conflicted with the show too, but for someone like you who's probably never or not caught up with everything, it's hard to kind of recommend this kind of show to like someone like you or someone who hasn't caught up with the shows recently. Like you can kind of tell anyone to watch Mando, but this show, it's like heavily geared towards, you know, the Star Wars fans and getting them, you know, kind of continuing that story. So
Fills in the gaps.
yeah, it fills in the gaps, and because it does have you wondering, you know, the ending of Rebels. Basically, what happens is Ezra and Thrawn get thrown into this. I guess they find a way to kind of travel around in space, and without without getting it too complicated, there's a way to manipulate time and space, and Thrawn or Ezra kind of sacrifices himself to trap himself with Thrawn, and they both send themselves somewhere in the galaxy, and then this whole show is about finding them, and Ahsoka's like, hey, I know you like Ezra or whatever, but maybe it's better they don't get found, because if we find him, there's a possibility that could bring back Thrawn, the big mean blue meanie guy. So, of course, Sabine, the other character, she's she's also kind of training to be a Jedi, which she's not very good at, which is kind of cool. They don't make her very strong. Like, she's not as in tune with the Force, so she's not able to use it as well as other Jedi. She's also a Mandalorian, so it's also kind of interesting to see like a Mandalorian Jedi. Some of those, I think the first, Mandalorian, or if you go deep into the Star Wars lore, the whole Darksaber thing was kind of to help fight the Jedi or whatever. That was like their weapon. And anyway, yeah, I can't recommend it unless you're like a huge fan. If you're really into Star Wars, and you probably already watched by now, but for anyone who's kind of wondering, should I watch it? Maybe not. You could probably skip this one. I'm sure in the next Mandalorian movie or whatever they're doing, they'll probably explain who everyone is or do some introduction.
Well, so I'm looking at the IMDb page, and I was like, a few things struck me. I want to talk about two of them. First off, I want to talk about the casting. All these people are just gorgeous people. So like they did a really good with casting. And
Oh yeah,
talking a little bit more with casting, I see Hayden Christensen in here. And I was like, dude, where has this guy been? So he, of course, is playing Anakin Skywalker in it, and that alone kind of gets me a little interested to
well,
go and watch the movie, or not the movie, the TV show.
yeah. I guess I wasn't trying to give it away because it was a little bit of a surprise, but it's fine. It's been out for a while. Yeah, his return is actually very interesting. So he kind of helps. So as you may or may not know, Anakin was Ahsoka's mentor, or she was a Padawan to him as he was a Jedi Knight in the Clone Wars, and it kind of goes back and does some flashback scenes where they do have some battle scenes from the Clone Wars, like, hey, Snips, remember this battle? And then going back and you see Captain Rex, and it was really cool to see him. Actually, that was one of the highlights of the show, and it's not just nostalgia goggles or anything. His whole purpose there is to kind of teach her and kind of help her get through this, because she's going through a rump where she can't train Sabine, and he's like, well, you weren't exactly easy to train either. So it's kind of like the dilemma where it's like, well, you were a piece of shit. So, she wasn't that bad in the show, but she had her moments where she just kind of wanted to do her own thing. And Anakin was the same way. He defied orders and did things his own way. So she kind of took after that. So it's like a cycle, it's like poetry, it rhymes, as George Lucas says.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I would watch it just because he's in it. Because like I really enjoyed watching like him in his previous stuff, and I'm gonna get the names wrong. So give me a Hayden Christensen right here in episode 3 and episode 2. Yeah. I remember watching those. Yeah, those came out in 2002, 2005. I was like, how old was I? I was born in 92, so I was only 10 years old when episode 2 came out.
he's an iconic character. The prequels,
he was in Jumper? Oh wow, I didn't know
yeah,
that.
he was. That was man, that was a good callback. That was a fun movie.
I liked it. Yeah, I really liked that one.
Yeah,
but anyway, yeah, he's cool.
He's iconic, and you can hate on the prequels, but to be fair, he did as best as he could as Anakin, and he's Anakin, and he's coming back, and he shows up in Kenobi as well, which we don't have to get into, but his performance there isn't bad either. Anyway, so Ahsoka, yeah, I mean, if you want to see Hayden Christensen, definitely check it out. I mean, he does have a cool role, I think,
that's
midway.
my take on it. I'd watch it just for that.
All right. Okay, well, next we have Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse, which was a movie we both watched, and I think
no. So
wait,
you
you didn't
misheard
watch
me
it
last time.
Oh, I misheard you.
I attempted to watch it and I passed out drunk, and I had it playing on my projector, and then I completely missed all of it. I only watched about 30 minutes, so you can go on and talk about. I will watch this.
Oh man.
eventually.
Okay, well, I see the color. Okay, so we have this whole system set up where maybe I'm not paying attention. Okay, so Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. This movie took quite a bit long to come out, but man, was the wait worth it. I mean, this movie is absolutely beautiful. The animation, the attention to detail, the story, the kind of things they add in. Miles Morales is again the main character of the story, and I guess you could say the antagonist is more so kind of Spider-Man 2099. So anyway, they have the Spider Society where all the Spider-Men are supposed to act a certain way or preserve the Spider timeline or whatever. So all these Marvel shows have their own take on the timeline. Even Loki goes into it, and all that. And I think even Deadpool, which we'll talk about later, goes into the TVA and all that. But anyway, so the whole plot to this movie is Miles Morales is he figures out about the Spider-Man timeline, and he learns about these things called canon events, which was a big meme for I think when this movie came out. But anyway, so Spider-Man 2099 tells him, look, you can't stop certain things from happening. And Miles is like, well, we have the power to travel through time and do this and that. And why can't we stop these events from happening? And he's like, well, if we do that, it'll break everything. So anyway, it's kind of a race against him. So Miles Morales is like the outlier versus like all the Spider-Men, and he does get like some people to side with him, which you'll see later. Gwen Stacy kind of is with him and against him at the same time. She misleads him a little bit, and there's a lot of cool characters and designs, and you could just freeze frame and pause the movie and just look at all the things that are going on in every other scene. I don't know how you passed out drunk to this, because it's a fantastic movie. I mean, I get it if you're probably fucked up, whatever, but I kind of want to rewatch it too, because I watched it on my computer at the time. I was kind of and I was like, man, I want to watch this on my 4K TV again, or I wish I saw it in the theaters, because it would have been awesome. But in short, it's gonna have a sequel, and I think this movie kind of suffered from a lot of movies like the writer's strike, and I think that's what paused it from continuing on. But I think also the animation itself took a long time to do. Like certain scenes would take like months or weeks to complete.
Yeah, they had Titmouse work on this one as well. If you can't tell, I'm really big on Titmouse, but yeah, they had some people work on this. Actually, they worked very hard on this from Titmouse department.
Can you tell me a little bit more about Titmouse?
Titmouse, they're just the guys that ended up giving you Metalocalypse, Venture Brothers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They also did another one this year, and I really wish that we took the time to talk about it, or I forgot. But they did Scavenger's Reign, so it's just that one's really good if you haven't seen it. I'm not gonna get into it. They did Star Trek Lower Decks. What else? Digman is really good. Agent Elvis, whenever he was working with the Secret Service, so he's an undercover agent. That's really good. Yeah, dude, it's really good. Beavis and Butthead.
Oh, so they did the new Beavis and Butthead or the old one?
Yeah, the old no, the newer one.
Okay, that one looks actually really nice. I've seen a few clips and
It's silly. The Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe is pretty funny. They also did the Apex Legends Gaiden event trailer. So
wow.
like they do a bunch of odd jobs.
Okay, wow. So I mean, I felt like this must have been their main project or must have taken them some time.
Yeah, people were gainfully employed.
Yeah, they must have had to get more people for this. I think I think one of the main so it's kind of funny because they take a very minor fucking Spot of all people. He's like one of the main antagonists and he, without getting into too much, he's a ridiculous Spider-Man villain that I don't think would have ever. I guess he's also kind of the main villain, but really, I think Spider-Man 2099 is more so the main villain, and he's fucking voiced by Oscar Isaac, which makes it fucking crazy. But anyway, definitely watch it again, dude. If I think I will watch it again, and if you haven't watched it already, please do. All right, so finally, we're back to a show we both watched, which is Castlevania Nocturne, which I think came out earlier in the year, but another fantastic addition to the Castlevania series. I was a little skeptical. I'm like, how could they top it off? But I was thoroughly surprised.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I binged it in 2 days.
I mean, it is definitely a show you can, binge, and seeing Richter Belmont too, which is cool. They didn't go to Simon Belmont. They went to Richter, which is like his
damn right.
Which was interesting take. I mean, during the French Revolution too, they kind of have a good backdrop. And my God, dude, the scenes in the show are absolutely crazy. Like the violence isn't that bad, but like just the way they do it is absolutely beautiful. And then I don't know, like what can you say about this kind of stuff? Being a I mean, you're a pretty big Castlevania fan, so
it follows everything going into Rondo of Blood. If you played the SNES or
that's what I was thinking. I was like,
games.
The Rondo of Blood one was an interesting one too, because I think the Sega one got like a different one, or was it Sega that got Rondo of Blood, or they got
I think it was the Sega that ended up getting Rondo of Blood. Here, let me check really quick. And I've never played Rondo of Blood for context. But I know how because Rondo of Blood came out before Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and I think I'm pretty sure this is going in chronological order. So from the time that it was when this show came out, they skipped Simon because hey, it's there. You don't need all that. But they ended up they do make a mention of him in the show, which is kind of nice. But Rondo of Blood is like what comes after Simon, and then after Rondo of Blood, it goes into Symphony of the Night. So that alone, to anybody that actually gives a shit about Castlevania, should know that there are spoilers within that, and you already know what's going to happen.
I mean, at the very end of the show, when what's his face comes up, it's just like, ah, shit, boy. And that was
they're doing it a really good service, man. Like this is definitely something for the fans. Like if you, and even if you're not even familiar with Castlevania as a franchise, this will get you into it.
I mean, the best part is you don't have to watch any of the previous Castlevania seasons either, because it's completely disconnected.
Yeah, well, I mean, shit, dude. I mean, Shaft. So this is into the story, but Shaft is the magician that ends up resurrecting Dracula every 300 years. So every 300 years, there's going to be Dracula. So it's the same story, but told every other 300 years. So it's all right.
So I mean, I guess at some point we'll see Richter show up again and fight Dracula, and then
something.
And then maybe Alucard will make a return. We'll see. But I mean, for a spinoff, I think it was really well done during the French Revolution. It kind of has a cool backdrop because it's like the vampires are siding with the monarchy and they're controlling them too. So it's kind of a cool spin on it. And they even have the extra side characters which come from like Africa or whatever, and they're like also have their own powers, and the other vampire that comes from there, and she was fucking insane, dude. Like that shit was crazy. And then I mean, I think the coolest character too was the Native American vampire, which
Oh yeah.
kind of scars him for life, and ends up fucking the fucking paladin. He's like, shut the fuck. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like,
Yeah, I wasn't. I definitely wasn't prepared for that.
like they're like
but
wrestling
whenever it
each
did
other,
happen-
and then they're like, I'm like, is this a fight or you know what's going on? But it's not like in your
Yeah.
face, you know. It's kind of like
God.
it kind of goes with it, and you're not like taken out of it. It's like it's tastefully done.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, look, dude, there's shows that get in your face about it and all that, but
Yeah, that's true.
it's I don't know. And then all I can say is I'm kind and you know, and then they kind of have to work together in the end, and he's like, look, I don't like this guy, you don't like this guy, I know you don't like me, but fuck it, you can kill me later.
He likes him, all right.
Oh my god. Well, I mean, I like his like powers when he was going into like shadow form and kind of like doing shit from that, like when they were fighting the vampires towards the end. I mean, everyone gets their shot, and the only girl I didn't kind of like was the chick. I mean, her powers are kind of stupid. I mean, she could summon animals, and I'm like, okay, this is
She's a huge. But she comes around, dude. She'll grow on you.
I wasn't. I mean, I get it. I like Sypha better.
She's
To be honest,
angsty.
I like
That's
Sypha.
it.
I mean, Sypha did it better. I mean, she was angsty, but at least she could like fucking use magic and shit. Like you're throwing lions and birds. Like get the fuck out of here.
Bro. It's fine. It's everything that anybody grew up playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night or Rondo of Blood would appreciate. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's there. Her written as a character, sure. She does get on your nerves, but you'll like her, and you can probably side with her.
I mean, one
whenever
character
you're
I liked
walking
was the freaking the priest. I mean, he was a fucking complete dickhead. And then his
Yeah.
her mom too. She's like, oh yeah, by the way, you know,
Yeah, all that other stuff. I'm not gonna ruin it.
Yeah.
That's one I really don't want to ruin.
yeah, it kind of got
doesn't.
me, and I was like, oh wow. Like, so yeah, if you haven't watched it already, please do. So okay, the next one. I mean, we're covering a lot of Netflix shows, but to be honest, there was a lot of good content there. And the next one I have is Blue Eye Samurai, which you did not watch, but
Nope.
it is a beautiful, beautifully animated show with a very engaging story. So the main character is a half. She's half Japanese, half white or Caucasian, blue eyes. And I guess back in that day, you know, if you're a half, you had blue eyes. They depict her as a oni, or of sorts, or a demon, and she's got this. Her main mission is just to kill all white people in Japan, or any foreigner. Like that's her fucking mission. Like that's the show. So she's hunting. I'm not. You think I'm joking, but I'm not.
No, I want to now. I want to definitely show this to my wife.
Yeah, dude. So she would love it. Actually, she would actually get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
So there's other characters involved. There's a princess, and there's a. So in the beginning of the show, the blue-eyed samurai runs into this. She goes to a dojo, and she's like, "I'm looking for this guy," because she's trying to find the location of this white dude who may or may not be in the area. And she just basically fucks up everyone in the dojo, and she's like, "Your fighting style's whack. your swords are whack, you suck. And she ends up fighting one guy in particular who is supposed to marry this princess. So the princess was going to be in this arranged marriage. And then the dad was like, you know what? I'll let you marry whoever you want. That's fine. And after he gets his ass beat by the blue-eyed samurai, he's kind of shamed. And she's like, look, you can't marry this bozo. He just lost, and kind of like, if you married him, he would make us look bad. So she ends up having to marry some other kingdom or whatever, some other lord. So she gets sent off, and the guys trying to hunt down the blue-eyed samurai to gain his honor back. So there's a little bit of some Avatar vibes, I guess, with the whole. He kind of reminds me of Zuko a little bit, that whole, but it's done a little bit differently. And their whole journey takes them across Japan and finding this white guy and meeting a bunch of characters along the way who are connected. And literally, like, of course, this guy's main mission is to bring guns to Japan and take over. That's the white guy's plan. So he's like shipping over muskets or whatever to take down the shogun. So it's during like the Edo period or whatever. And anyway, it's a little like, it's pretty graphic, and the way they handle it, like, it's not like the blue-eyed samurai is like a fucking superhero. Like, she gets fucked up, like she gets hurt, and she's done it like
she's no Mary Sue.
She's no Mary Sue, and it kind of explains how she got her thing. So she's was taken in by a blind swordsmith, and yeah,
Real kick of the litter there.
Yeah, and he was like not trying to take her in, and then she, learns how to swordsmith, and all these guys would come by to, learn how to, or get their own, because he's a famous swordsmith, so everyone wanted a sword from him.
From a blind dude.
Yeah, no, he was the best. Like he was fucking famous, dude. He was blind, but he knew what the fuck he was doing.
I'm sorry, but yeah, okay, go on.
So they were meant for each other. They're both like kind of outcasts, but and so the whole other thing to this is he found a meteor, and he found it's like some space metal. I don't know what it was, but he can't make a sword out of it. He's like been trying his whole life, and she ends up making a unique sword made of this, and then goes off on her journey, even though he's like, don't go. So anyway, like, I watched the first season, and I'm left wanting more. And it has really, all the characters are very well written, and it has its silly moments. It's not just like serious brooding.
Take it out of context. I will. I'm gonna laugh at it.
No, there's plenty. Like, all right, let me tell you another character. He is a noodle chef. He's he makes soba, but he has no hands.
Fuck, you need hands.
He has nubs for his hands.
Does he attach like the soba noodle knives to his hand?
So he like puts on bands around his arm and like attaches like chopsticks to them, and he does random stuff with that. And after seeing the blue-eyed samurai, he's like, I want to be your apprentice. And she's like, dude, you have no hands. You can't fucking. She's like, get the fuck away from me, loser. Like,
oh my god.
And like in the first episode, she tells him to fuck off, and she sends him to a brothel. And he's like, wow, I've never done this before. And
my god,
dude, I'm telling you, it's fucking wild, dude.
All right,
so
George
anyway,
Takei's in it.
Yes.
Oh my.
Who does he play in that show? Oh, he probably plays the uncle. I think he plays the uncle, I think. So the princess's uncle, he's a so when she runs away, he ends up kind of going with her. He's kind of like the Uncle Iroh to her, I guess.
Seki. He's Seki in that show.
So he's like her uncle, and he's kind of helping her on her journey. He's like, all right, if you want to run away, I'll go with you. And he's also kind of like a badass. But anyway, dude, please definitely check it out. It's a dope ass show, and I can't wait till like there's more seasons. I mean, let's see, is there any other seasons coming up? Hopefully this year. No, nothing yet. But I mean, he got some awards and some nominations. So
Yeah, 7 awards and one nomination. Yeah, dude, it looks good. I want to give it a. I'll give it a watch.
give it a watch, dude. You'll enjoy it. One Piece live action. We both watched it. What did you think?
I thought it was gonna be shit, to be honest. And I don't know, dude. I'm kind of like, if I was gonna grade it, I'd give it like a C plus. And I always say this, the guy that plays Luffy, he kind of fucking annoys me. Like he reminds me of those overly happy people that you see in real life, and you're like, I can't trust this person. Like, shit.
I mean, they capture the spirit and the heart of the show.
They did. But I mean, I will admit it was enough. Like, as a guy that definitely does not have any real knowledge of One Piece other than they're trying to search for the One Piece and Luffy is like super stretchy. Um, nah, I mean it did its job for what it could do as an adaptation of an anime or a manga. I think it did okay. Me personally, I seriously think that whoever it was that was in charge of funding all of this, they didn't want it to die, because what was another live action adaptation that seemingly just got destroyed not too long before, I would say within the year time of this being released. You know what I'm talking about?
There's a few, man.
Yeah, I mean, just that statement alone kind of tells you it seemed like it was already like ready to die. So me personally, I felt like people that are really high up in the entertainment industry, they really didn't want this to die. So people have kind of accepted it as a success.
Well, I mean, all right. So my wife, she's a huge fan of One Piece, and she's watched just about every episode where this show covers the Eastern Blue arc, you could say. I'm pretty familiar with it myself, and I think it does a pretty good job of consolidating and kind of having a, what's the word? A what's the word?
Like an overview, synopsis, a general storytelling of what has happened in a translation.
Yeah, it's like cliff notes for One Piece, I guess. That's not the word I was looking for, but um, it's like it kind of streamlines the show, and you know, you still get your random adventures. It has the major points where stuff happens, and you know, the special effects and the fighting scenes, the choreography, I think is done well enough to make it fun. Um, the world of One Piece, and you know, the Grand Line. They don't go to the Grand Line quite yet, but I mean, I like what they're doing with it. They do take some liberties here and there, and some of the sets and designs sometimes feel a bit cheesy, like you're watching a like kind of like you're at an amusement park, and it's like a recreation of that area, and it feels like, you know, some of the sets feel like that, or some of the costumes which I got the same vibes from Avatar, which we'll get into later. But I think a lot of the characters, you still have the same essence or spirit of those characters, and seeing certain scenes over again was nice. And like I said, they do. And I was talking about this earlier today with my coworker, and I'm thinking, because I thought about this with the Avatar show, what does it add that on top of the anime? Like, what does it do good that the anime doesn't? And I guess what it does is it kind of consolidates and cuts down everything to a concise story without removing too much, while still capturing the heart of the original show. And yeah, I mean, I know he's a very in the original show, Luffy is that's just how he is. You know, he doesn't let many things get him down until, like, you know, when even when he's at his low points, he's always like positive. So, and then they have Zoro, who's I think he does kind of look a little weird. Or I mean, he's like played by the famous actor who looks like he belongs in a K-pop or J-pop band or something, like an idol or something. But he sells it too. I mean, all the characters are very fun and likable, and by the end, you kind of feel like you did kind of like these characters did kind of grow on you a little bit. The style and everything, the humor is still there, and it made me smile, to say the least. So, for anyone who's like never watched One Piece, it's like it's kind of a good place to start without binging the whole show. Like if
that's too much.
Yeah.
Like if you tell me to go and watch like the first 200 episodes of Bleach to understand it, I'm gonna tell you to go fuck yourself. Like, and for that reason alone, like I do like One Piece for this.
That's the word I was looking for. Abridged. It's an abridged version of the series.
Yeah, but you were mentioning like some of the characters that you liked and stuff, but one of the characters that I really like is definitely Buggy. And the reason being is because my wife, she was just like, why'd they make him so cool? And I took that as a direct translation of what she really fucking meant. It was like, why'd they make him so hot? And I'm like, all right, I fucking knew it.
Well, the cool thing is like they kind of like one thing my wife kept saying is like, oh, why is he not like Japanese? I'm like, well, because in her eyes, the way the show is, everyone's supposed to, they all speak Japanese, but like the show kind of puts everyone in like an interesting like race or I guess background, which
Pirates,
makes
dude.
Yeah, like it's a little bit more believable, I guess. And so, I mean, Buggy, he is a little bit cooler in this because in the original show,
he's my favorite.
I mean, the original show, he's literally a joke. I mean, later in the series, he becomes even more of a joke because he kind of becomes a little bit more lucky and gets like steals the fame or spotlight for things Luffy does, and but the way they dealt with him was fun, and when he came around, it was always kind of like nice, especially when they're like carrying his head around like they did in the previous show. It's just fun.
Yeah, like whoever it was, like that is acting as Buggy, I think that he really sold it very well. Because like the over the topness for Luffy, he sells it, and he dials into that character that he's supposed to be. And I think this guy that plays as Buggy, he does it as well, and he's also giving it like his all, and I can really appreciate that from him as an actor.
Oh yeah, I mean he's gonna make his comeback probably season 2. The next area they'll go to is probably like Rogue Town and Alabasta. So I mean I'm still interested in seeing more and seeing what they do with some of the other characters, because I mean things do get really crazy and wacky. The more they go closer to the Grand Line, you start seeing a lot more wacky stuff. So actually, this whole arc is a little bit more grounded than how it does later in the series. So I'm interested to see how they'll tackle that more. So I'd recommend it. I mean, even if you're still holding back and saying it's shit or whatever, I mean, just give it a watch. I mean, it's nothing to get
or do what I
angry over.
did, because I was that person that said this is going to be shit. Like that was my approach to this, and the way that I ended up kind of having a different, a different tune about it was I watched it in 2x speed. Now some people are gonna be like, oh my god, you troglodyte, whatever. I was like, look, dude, I don't have all this time to go and sit through something that I could potentially dislike. So I did that. I did that for like the first like 2 or 3 episodes. And on top of that, I actually watched it with my wife at normal speed. So
you did double.
It's okay.
Or you did like 1.5, I guess.
I watched it all. I watched the
Yeah,
first season. I thought it was great,
yeah. I mean,
and yeah.
it's not
So
a bad show
yeah,
to
that's it.
watch it two
Yeah.
times because I mean, there's not a lot of scenes where you're missing out on the pacing or whatever. I mean,
What I
it's
really like about it the most, like whenever I was watching it with my wife, was the fact that she was just like, "Oh my god, are they really doing that? Why?" Like she was asking me questions, and I never get questions from her.
oh,
I really don't. So I enjoyed that.
it brought some interaction. Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely. We talked a lot about it. It was good, and I love that about entertainment like this.
Yeah, it brings you together and gets you thinking. It's just fun for everyone. I mean, I think anyone can really enjoy it. If you're a fan of this, it surprised me too. Like I didn't think it was going to be great, and everyone was kind of like bashing on it. But I think overall, it did well enough to warrant it continuing. And the way it's going now, the creator is very satisfied with the show. I don't think this will go away anytime soon. Especially with how popular even One Piece is now. It's
Yep,
still very popular, so it's not going to go away.
we got a
So
lot of One Piece trading cards.
there you go.
Too many, in fact.
I mean, every episode. So I'm still watching the animation, and dude, I mean, it's every Sunday morning. It's like a little family thing. We all watch One Piece, and there's so many commercials for all the card games, like the app games. Like there's plenty of merchandise out there, especially in Japan for that stuff. So
Yeah, it's a long running franchise, like a surprisingly long running franchise. But you start to see like why with the TV
I mean,
with the TV
it's just
live
very
action.
creative, and like the world they build, there's just like endless possibilities, and it's goofy and lighthearted, and it has
Mhm.
its moments. I mean, when Mihawk fights Zoro, at the Baratzi or Baratia, um, I think they handle it well enough, and Zoro gets really fucked up. And the one thing I actually liked about the show that my wife was even mentioning, she's like, "Man, people are getting killed. Like, you actually see people die in this show. Like in the animation, no one really ever kind of dies. They kind of just like fall over, like, or some
Yeah,
characters die, but people actually kind of die or like get fucked up. So it's kind of cool to see that at least." Speaking of fucked up and people dying, let's move into Godzilla minus one, which was
that's your wheelhouse.
that was my favorite movie of last year, hands down. Nothing and look, I came into this, I was a little thrown off by the trailers, and I try not to set up any expectations, but I was like, oh man, CGI Godzilla, really? Like I was not. I was, at least with Shin Godzilla, they had some practical effects here and there. There were some. That one was also mainly CGI, but that one was they did have some animatronics, but it was very real and grounded. Now this one takes a different approach where it becomes more of a war drama. Um, so you have your main character who's a fighter pilot in World War II, and they're kind of stationed in a random Pacific island. The war is still ongoing, and his whole troop just gets fucking wiped out by God. It's like a smaller version of Godzilla, and he freezes up and he kind of fucks up. But it's like no matter what he did, I don't think he would have stopped it. But anyway, the rest of the backdrop is post-war Japan, post-war Tokyo, where everything is completely destroyed. Because for a lot of you that may or may not know, Tokyo was like firebombed and completely, you talk about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Those were the only two cities that were never bombed until, the nuclear bomb. Every other city got fucking firebombed and bombed every other day. So Tokyo was in ruins. So you don't see Godzilla for a while, and he kind of pops up, and he's kind of haunted by this. He takes on a woman in the street who has a child, and they have this weird platonic relationship where they're kind of together but not really, and they get married, and he's taking care of this family, and then it just becomes a whole different movie at one point. Like you're like, wow, like you're really invested in the characters. And the guy who directed this movie did a drama called Always Sunny on what's the hold on.
Philadelphia.
No, yeah, Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So that's how you know. No, sorry, no. The show was called or the TV show, or sorry, the movie was Always Sunset on Third Street, which was another show that was about. It was a movie about pre-war Japan and just like the life of, you know, people and how they lived back then. So I think he's really good at doing period pieces, and I think he's also done a few other war films. So it was really interesting to see the way he mixed in the drama, and then at every key point in the movie, Godzilla does make an appearance. The main character ends up working on a minesweeper, and yeah,
really?
So yeah, he does. So they're like, yeah,
give me some context, dude.
So okay, he's basically looking for a job after the war because he has this woman and daughter living with him. So he's like, all right, I gotta find a job. So he ends up working on a minesweeper with this small crew of people. Some of them were in the military before, and they kind of ask him. He's good at shooting, so they have like a big 50 cal gun they use to shoot the mines, and they're like, oh wow, you're a good shot. The rest of them can't shoot it, but this guy's used to shooting machine guns in the plane or whatever. So they go out and they're looking for mines, and then they start hearing rumors about ships just randomly disappearing in the ocean or getting torn up. And then they run into Godzilla, and there's this fucking amazing action scene where they have the mines they've like defused in the back of their car, and then they're like, oh fuck, like Godzilla's on their ass, and like they start throwing the mines at him and then start shooting him to like make him stop or whatever. It's just a fucking badass scene. And I'm like, look, it's a minesweeper. Like, that's so cool. Like, I never thought minesweepers could be cool, but they somehow made it cool. So later on, Godzilla does come back again. So like it's sprinkled in, and usually what happens with these movies is there's a pause between Godzilla attacking and then the human drama talking about what they're going to do. And usually it's just bullshit or filler. I mean, Shin Godzilla did an excellent job at making it like a real crisis situation. This one's more about how people deal with it, or post-war Japan, on top of this next tragedy that's happening. So
I really like that. I will admit, I do enjoy that a lot about Japan whenever it comes down to things like Godzilla franchise and how it's translated over into like things like manga and animes. They made Response Team a genre, like, in my own opinion.
It is. And like, cause it's just like the most badass thing. And that's why I like Evangelion too, because there's always, before they fight anyone, it's like people in a room and figuring out, okay, what do we got? Okay, we got the angel here, or we got the monster here, and then we're going to deploy these like Evas, or we're going to deploy the military, and then, you see how they deal with it. Like, oh no, it's not working. And there's all this drama. Here it's like a little different because towards the end of the movie, there is no military, right? So they're like, look, we are only taking volunteers, and it's basically like a suicide mission. And then everyone's like backing away and quits. And then it's just the local fishermen and local boats people who end up kind of saving the day with this crazy idea that may or may not work. So it kind of adds that element, but it also kind of changes your expectations, because it's not like this big military operation. It's just like a ragtag group of people trying their best. So I don't know. I think it was a wonderful cinematic experience. I wish I could go see it again. But whenever this drops on Blu-ray, I'm definitely buying it.
Yeah, it's definitely one movie I haven't had the privilege of watching quite yet. Um, but I have it on my to watch list.
Good. Please do. I mean, I just really I did like a small 15-minute episode. Like I could talk about this movie like all day, just kind of
Yeah.
going in depth. And I do want to do that eventually once I get my hands on the English sub. So I watched this in Japanese only, no subtitles. And
Yeah, like a real professional fan.
but I try, look, I'm not fluent in Japanese and I couldn't understand everything, but the way the movie was directed, like the way visually you see certain things, it tells a story very well. So for example, so he has his minesweeping crew over at his new house. So he goes from like a little shack, and then as he makes more money, like they rebuild the house. So they have like a housewarming party. They're eating nabe, and they're over the house and they're kind of joking around. And he's like, "Oh, so what's up with you and this chick? Like what's going on?" And he kind of like snaps and he's like, "Oh, it's nothing, he gets mad and he's like, "Oh, it's not like that, And then she's in the kitchen hearing this whole situation. And the next scene, she's like, "Hey, I'm starting a new job." Because she's like, "Look, I've kind of not ripped off from you, but I've taken, you've taken care of us for this long. Now I want to give back in my own way." So she gets a job, and then that kind of is the next set piece for the next Godzilla scene where he attacks Ginza, where she so happens to work, and then it just goes crazy from there. The death and destruction is beautiful, and the budget for this movie was very low. I don't know how they did it, but it just goes to show you that maybe with little you can do a lot more if you have that vision. So definitely recommend it.
All right, good to know.
Yeah, next we can talk about something more a little lighthearted. Well, not so lighthearted. Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I think out of all the Marvel movies or content that came out, this was one that outshined everything. I mean, it's Guardians, it's James Gunn. Can't really go wrong. A conclusion of the Guardians trilogy, you could say.
Yeah.
A bit of a Rocket Raccoon movie. It focuses a little bit on Peter Quill, and the way it deals with him and Gamora is appropriate. It's not like, "Oh, I gotta get the girl," and it settles it in a satisfactory way. Also, there was a Guardians Christmas special which introduced like some new characters, like the Russian dog and a few others. It kind of has a set piece. It also introduces the fact that Mantis and Peter are technically half brother, half sisters, or whatever. So there's that.
I didn't know that. I never watched that one.
Well, they kind of mention it in the movie at some point. He's like, "Oh, well, we're family," or whatever. And it kind of comes out of nowhere. And yeah, if you didn't watch it, then so the whole plot of that is Mantis and what's his face? Mantis and the blue guy. Drax. So Mantis and Drax.
Green.
I guess he is green in the comics. So Mantis and Drax. No. What? He's blue. He's like blue and red.
He's green and red.
In the comics, he's green and red, but he looks
even in the TV or in the movies, he's green and red.
He looks blue.
Bro, he looks green. All right, leave that to the comments. He looks green.
Like this video if you think he's blue. See, in some he looks.
And say some shit.
Downvote if you think it's green.
Don't do that.
All right, whatever. So the plot of that side series or that side episode or whatever you want to call it, Mantis and Drax go kidnap Kevin Bacon to make Chris Pratt feel better about himself because he's still sad about, Gamora kind of forgetting about him. So, and because he's like, oh, I have no family, because it's a Christmas thing. He's like, oh, I have no one to celebrate Christmas with. And then he's like, oh, well, they find out Mantis and him are related because what's his face? Drago, or his Peter's dad, the star being or whatever, he is the father of Mantis as well. So anyway, the movie focuses on Rocket, his backstory, where he came from. The villain is this weirdo who is genetically engineering or creating species to find, I guess, the perfect species or whatever. And he's kind of like like you want to see him lose. And toward the ends, they just start, saving all the animals and random shits. It's a heartfelt movie. It's one
It
I
only
think
makes it heartfelt because there's animals involved.
I mean, it's all right. You know what? If it was people or kids getting experimented on, I think it may or may not have the same effect. But with animals, it's kind of, what's the word? It makes it easier for you to feel sorry for them. It is a bit cheap, I would say. It is cheap. Especially the fucking otter.
Yeah, they really did do that. That really got me. I'll admit. Like, no, not the nubby otter.
I mean, my favorite character though, I think was the golden boy. What's his face?
What the fuck is that?
Come on. Fucking John blanks here.
Golden boy.
Golden boy.
Golden boy? What the fuck is this golden boy?
He's like Adam Universe or whatever the fuck his name is.
Oh, him. The guy that also was in Shameless.
Yeah.
Adam Warlock.
Adam Warlock. There you go. I like him the best.
Dude, he annoys the fuck out of me.
That actor kind of is like weird to me. He just feels, you know what kind of makes me, I think it ruined it for me, because every time I see him, I think of Maze Runner, and I think of how much of an asshole he was in that movie. And he was just like, come on, what are you, green boy? Let's go. This is your first time in the Maze Runner. You remember Maze Runner, bro?
That guy has like a constant like growl on his face.
Yeah.
He's just like constantly judging something. And even in that role where he's not even trying to judge anything, he's just confused. So like they substituted Frowl for being like judgmental as confused, which is really actually amazing that they were able to get away with that in this.
Well, he's, I think towards the end, I guess where it connects is that guy created the gold people race, and he's like, okay, either help me or I'm going to kill your mom or something. And that's why he's looking for Rocket. And then he realizes he's a piece of shit, or he kills his little buddy or whatever, and he gets mad. I mean,
yeah, there's a bunch of like comic book nerd lore bullshit that goes into it.
But it's not like
they
in your
really
face.
did dump down his character.
They did, but that's the whole. I think that's what they try to do, right? Like they try to take these characters that no normal person would probably care about, and they make it interesting or funny to make you connect with them.
Bro, if like you're listening to this and you're a huge Adam Warlock fan, tell me one issue or one series that features Adam Warlock, and tell me, dude, bro, read this series, read this art, and I will read it, and then I will go ahead and I will give my honest opinion about it if that's what you want. But I don't think there's anything there.
Yeah, I mean they hyped it up, right? They hyped it up at the end of, I think it was 2, and I'm like, oh, it's Adam Warlock. Okay. I don't know. I think it connects with the Eternals or some shit. Like, dude,
Yeah, which flopped. There's
The
nothing there
thing,
either.
the thing is, and what DNZ was telling me, because I was asking him like, should I go watch Marvels? Because it looks like a fucking shit show, and I enjoyed like the side series they were on, like the Miss Marvel. Like it was pretty good. And Photon, she comes from WandaVision. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, you can watch it, but then he's like, there's a lot of stuff that they're leading into that might not get done for a very long time. So it's like
Forever.
or ever. So now you're starting to see the DC or whatever. The same thing they did with Justice League now happen to Marvels, which is insane. Like they tried to double down on whatever they were trying to do, and it just stopped. I mean, I watched Loki. Loki was pretty good. That one was finally over. There was a satisfying conclusion. Like, if they just do stuff that's, I don't know, maybe not so connected, and maybe start over, and maybe not try to make it lead up, because how can you top Endgame or just the whole Thanos Infinity Stone? Like, I can't really think of another like Marvel storyline besides like a proper Civil War or like a proper Hulk versus Iron Man, or like they have to start doing the fun stuff and just get into that or something, because as it is now, it's just a mess.
It is a mess, but why do you think that is? And here I'll give you the answer. I think it's because of fucking shareholders, to be honest. Because once they start, because like when Marvel got bought out in like the 2000s, like it was on the, I think they had either claimed bankruptcy or they were on the brink of bankruptcy, and then they ended up getting bought out, and that's what saved them.
I mean, I think there's an agenda, or they're trying to appeal to certain audiences that might not be the target audience. I mean, Critical Drinker kind of tackled this, and I don't agree with everything he says, but he does make a point that action comic book movies, the demographic is mainly males. And then
100%.
a movie like Barbie that's targeted toward females. So when they start kind of mixing in and trying to appeal to different people, and you're alienating your target audience, it's like a person like me, I could give two shits if Captain Marvel or Brie Larson's like the main, whatever, but just give me a good story. Do what you're doing, what you did best. Like, you tell your stories. They played it safe for a very long time. The Marvel formula, it never really failed. But now it's just like, okay, what's next? So that's where Guardians kind of like it differs from the rest.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I did like the end Easter egg or whatever you want to call it, but
Yeah,
I liked it.
I mean, I don't know if they'll actually follow up on that, but it would be cute.
I think they would.
Here's
some trivia. Here's some trivia. So James Gunn, his brother is actually the guy that ends up taking on what's that one fucking blue guy's name? The one that whistles.
Oh, Yondu.
Yeah. So Yondu's
Nebula. Yeah, Nebula, or not Nebula, the other guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a James Gunn's brother. Actually.
Oh, is it? That's funny.
Yeah. So, of course, he's trying to get himself a gig.
Yeah, I mean, there's I guess you could do like
it's nepotism.
Like, if there was a show that just followed the adventures of what goes on in that universe, that would be kind of cool. It doesn't have
they did that, and I've actually took the time to watch the animated series of Guardians of the Galaxy that was actually on Disney.
Oh wow,
Disney X. Yeah, I took the time. Yeah, so it's there. It's a different. Like they talk about one of the other Marvel superheroes that's supposed to be getting a movie this fucking time. I forgot his name. Like it's gonna be shit. God, I wish I knew what it was like off the top of my head, but I need to be better about writing about what I watch on letterboxed or whatever. But I'll do that next time.
What's this? Okay, so
Yeah, so Guardian of
look
the
out for that.
Galaxies. Wait, what's that? What's the
Look
question?
out for that show. See, like,
Yeah.
I mean, look, if we can't remember this shit, it could just be fog brain, but it's probably just like people are getting tired of the shit. They need to do something that's different, or just I don't
Well,
know.
this is just a Marvel problem altogether. Like there's an oversaturation, and writers are getting lazy,
Well, I think
and
that's
then there's
how
writer
comics
strikes.
got after some point. Like things just start
Is it
getting weird.
because is it because of the oversaturation of like the stories or the demand of all these movies, or is it because the fact that like writers were not getting paid their share due?
Well, I think this is
And
the source
that's
material too. Like they're trying to take the source material and make it into something that it's not. Maybe because I mean, all right, look at fucking Ant-Man, right? I mean, we can just look. We
I
have
love
a Ant-Man Quantumania. You take MODOK, one of the most beloved villains,
I like him.
and they just fucking like he's there, but then
Yeah, he is there.
he's there, but and then they just kind of like, he's done. And I'm just like, come on. It's like, I was happy to see MODOK. I was like, you know what? I will watch this just for MODOK. So as long as they just have sprinkles of little things that we want to see, then it'll probably work. But, you know, in the Marvels, I'm like, I don't know who the fuck this villain is, and I don't fucking care. Like, if they were fighting Doctor Doom, I would fucking watch it. Like, I didn't care about the main cast. I'd be like, put a cool villain, put a cool story. I don't want to see generic space lady who shoots purple laser beams. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not watching
Tell me the
this.
story. Tell me the story, and if it isn't like historically correct to the source material, then this is shit, and I wanna be angry about it.
Like, I don't fucking care. Like, give me X-Men, dude. I think that's what the world needs right now. Is
Well, X-Men 97 is coming out soon, and I can't wait to watch that.
I wish. I mean, I'm happy they did that too, but I mean, I think that's the only thing that Marvel really has that's worth anything.
Dude, they're digging in their back pockets right now for something that's actually going to be good, and that's what they have because everything's already written out for them. But let's not make this about only Marvel because we could talk about this forever.
I know. So I have a few more shows, but I'm gonna kind of like quickly go through them because some of them you didn't watch. So I'll start with like Jujutsu Kaisen, which everyone I think watched by now. Season 2. I'm just gonna speed.
Tell me why I should watch it.
I mean, did you watch the first season?
I've never seen any of it.
Dude, it's a fucking great show. All right, it's very graphic. All right, we'll take these two shows because Yu Hakasho is very similar because they deal with the spirit realm and whatnot. They're handled in very different ways, whereas Yu Hakasho is a bit more lighthearted and fun. This one's more dark and violent
More
and
edgy.
I mean, the animation is fucking fantastic, dude. Like the way, like season 2, hands down, is one of the like every episode doesn't fucking waste your time, dude. There's always something that's happening, like whether it's action. Now where it kind of falls apart is the storytelling. There's a lot of things and explanations said that you kind of have to really focus on because the way their powers work is very weird, and it's not like I can't even explain it. Like they all have very unique powers or abilities, and they all work in a very special way. But I think as a newcomer for a mainstream animation, it's a good show. Like your main character just punches things, and everyone creams over Goto. He's the guy who has the white hair and the blue eyes. All the girls love him, so I'm sure your wife will enjoy that. But the action that's there is fun, and they have very interesting villains and characters that you root for, and I don't know, like it's a good show. Like I can't describe like why it's so good, and I think it's part of it's the animation and part of it's just the humor too. Like it is pretty funny and dark at the same time, so I don't know.
I mean, I keep hearing about people talk about about why it's so good, and it's usually for the same reasons. It's just like, oh yeah, it's just good. That's the only
It's
that's the only
hard.
thing
It's
that I
hard.
hear from
It's just hard to describe. Like it's just like you just watch it and it's just like, wow, like what am I looking at, or like what is happening? Like it's fucking insane. Like and it's not like grounded at all. It's just I don't know. Like there's certain episodes where it's like, all right, here's your mission. Go to this place and exorcise this cursed spirit. And then half the time it's like the cursed spirits say like weird shit. Like they're like, wash me, or they say mama, mama. Like they say stupid shit. And it's just funny, dude. Like I don't know. Like there's a guy who has the power to turn people into like monsters, and he's just like this fucked up, like stitched together dude, and just completely psychotic. And there's another guy who has like a volcano on his head, and he's like a magma spirit, and but he just gets completely like fucked up by Goto at one point. And I don't know, like just everything that's going on is just crazy to watch and see. So like once you watch it, you'll just be like, wow, like that was fucking insane.
All right, this is a salesman. Trust me, bro. Watch the first episode and you'll like it.
I think, yeah, if you watch the first episode or two, you will get drawn into it, because I mean, you're literally seeing people getting eaten alive and fucked up shit. It's fun.
All right.
Now, the next show, Scott Pilgrim, which does take some liberties. I think some people weren't very well, they were a little surprised the way it went down. It was not really a Scott Pilgrim show. It was kind of a little different. I would have just preferred if they just did I can't say that I would have preferred if they just did the story, because then that's just, but you do get everything kind of want. Like all the characters are there. Some people are saying like the voice acting sucks, but I don't think so. It's very dry and flat, I guess, the way they talk, which makes it kind of fun. It is like based on the comic book style too, so you are getting the original style of everything, which is kind of cool. I know you haven't watched it yet, but
I haven't even actually seen the first Scott Pilgrim, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. Dude, I was like, I don't know, 16, 17. I didn't have money to go to the movies.
You're the target demographic. I mean, I think it helps if you watch the original or at least get familiar.
I mean, that's good context. I do know that they have a video game.
The video game's actually really fun. I remember when 360 was out, we bought it on the Xbox arcade as they had it back in the day, and it was a fun like little beat 'em up. It was actually really hard too. We never even fucking beat it because it just gets relentless at one point. But
yeah, and I think they actually had a comic book series, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's based on the comic. So, he's fighting the.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see?
So all
Big
of it.
fan over here.
Yeah, you're fucking. Basically, the main plot is he's fighting her ex-boyfriends to win her back, because there's this evil league of ex-boyfriends that prevents anyone from dating her. Like they have to fight him or them or whatever, and they're all.
Why is that? Why is that something that you would want to do?
I mean, they kind of crash his. So he plays in a band called the Sex Bob-ombs, and they kind of crash his thing and attack him first. And he's like, well, I guess he has a real connection with this chick, but then he has like this other girl who's also like fallen for him. Knives Chow. She's like the cuck, or not like cuck, but she really loves
the cuck queen.
Yeah, she's the cuck
girl
queen.
Version of a cuck.
So she really loves Scott, and like, goes to his shows, takes care of him. And then this Ramona Flowers girl comes up. All she does, she works at a fucking video rental place, and she rents him a movie or something, and they hit it off, have a date. And then in this show, instead of him fighting the evil ex-boyfriends, he gets kidnapped, and so she has to figure out what happened to him. And it kind of goes to an interesting turn, but I think watching the original gives it a little bit more context.
I'm getting like River City Girl vibes from this because like River City Rampage was just basically like so I'm comparing like the two video games because you're saying beat 'em ups, right? And that's
Yeah.
exactly what River City Rampage was. And it's high school boys from way back when that are beating up everybody to go and get their girlfriends, but now River City Girls is the opposite of that where they're on their mission to go and save their boyfriends.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of similar to that style. And the whole style of the show is like a video game, or so like when he dies, like he turns into like coins or something, or they all have fantastical kind of powers. Like one guy is a vegan and he has like vegan superpowers because he's a vegan. Like that's just a thing. And then there's another.
What does he do? Just like
He can create like portals and like teleport and shit and like use energy.
How does that deal with vegan?
I don't fucking.
Sorry, I'm asking you a lot of questions that
it's goofy.
that require a lot of
I don't
back knowledge.
Like I don't know. And then like the other guy, he's just a skateboarder and he's like a yeah. So,
this is ridiculous.
And then
you're not telling me on this. All right, tell me why should I watch it?
Why should you watch it? I mean,
yeah,
I guess for you to appreciate.
Yeah, why should specifically me?
I think you'd appreciate the art style or the comic booky nature of it. It does kind of encapsulate that style that's a little different than your regular graphic novel. So it at least showcases a different art style that is not so common and popular, because it kind of looks like how The Walking Dead. I think The Walking Dead series, how those characters are drawn in that. I don't know.
You sold me on cuck queening. Oh wait, you didn't say that at all.
Well, she has her own arc too. So I mean, and then all the voice actors are from the movies too. So if you watch the movie and then watch this,
wait, is Michael Cera really in this?
Yeah, he plays. So he voices him.
Wow, that guy is like pretty notorious for avoiding any bit of information about him.
I mean, I feel like that movie made him, dude, or like, I don't know. It was like a very iconic role for him.
Superbad. Like it's literally that movie and Superbad that I know him from. Nothing else. Maybe The End of the World or something.
Juno.
Yeah, that one too. So like 4 movies. All right, cool. So not even a handful.
All right, so one of her other exes is actually a girl who's like a ninja.
You can't go wrong with ninjas.
I don't know. It's hard to recommend to someone who, I guess, didn't watch the original, but it's still.
I'll watch it. I mean, like I've seen bits and pieces.
Like, dude, if I asked you to watch this versus like Blue Eyed Samurai, I'd tell you to watch Blue Eyed Samurai, hands down. Like the shows, you could skip this and not and continue your life. Okay.
Okay.
Just similar to like Star Wars Vision Season 2, right? So we'll get straight into that. If you watch Star Wars Vision 1, you watch Star Wars Visions 2. There.
All right, cool.
I know. One thing I'll add is this season is, so I think the first season was a lot of Japan-based animation studios. And this season has more European, different country animation studios. So you kind of get a different mix of takes on the whole Star Wars universe. So if you like Star Wars Vision 1, you'd probably like this too.
Would this be the... This is just me speculating, but would this be like the equivalent of like Love, Sex, Robots?
Yeah, it's basically the equivalent of that, and probably how you felt about that show or season is probably how you feel about this. Oh, it was cool,
cool.
Like you'll find episodes like there's episodes you'll like more than others. Just based on whatever. I put it here because it did come out, and I mean, I did remember watching it, but I can't tell you I remember a single episode very much from when I watched it versus the first show, the first season. Like that first season, like even the first episode, it's like the black and white village, Ronin fighting Sith or whatever. There's just a few images that are still stuck in your brain that I can't get rid of. But yeah, going straight into a Yu Hakusho, I did mention it earlier. So I grew up kind of seeing Yu Hakusho here and there. I know a lot of people are more familiar with it. Me and my wife ended up going back to watch the original series a little bit more, and that one was pretty charming for like an 80s, 90s, Japanese animation. The show again does kind of what One Piece does and Avatar. It consolidates a lot of stuff and goes into one story, I guess, that's shortening the overall anime. I liked it. It's not as big as a fuck up as other live actions. They do handle it well enough, and the main, the characters are likable, and the people who play them are fun, and it's a show you can probably sit down and watch and kind of enjoy without thinking too much, and it still does, kind of keep to its own source material, even though it does skip around a lot. The original show was very goofy at times anyway, so I would recommend it to anyone who's a fan or maybe doesn't know too much about Yu Hakusho and wants to kind of get into it.
Does it have the dark tournament or whatever it's called? Yeah, it's the dark tournament.
So that's the thing, right? It kind of does and then kind of doesn't. And
does it? Wait. Is it like leaning into it, or is that kind of a teaser?
So that's the fucked up part. So if you ever watched the original series, like, look, when we went to go rewatch it, or my wife was watching it, she was like ahead of me on some stuff. That fucking arc goes on forever because they fight.
It's good.
It is good, but it goes on for fucking ever, and they kind of do a mini version of this. So there's only like a few characters that show up. So okay, you remember like the guy that can make the air like explode or whatever? Like he shows up. There's a big axe guy that shows up. So you remember the fox or the red haired dude? He turns into like the fox form, or he's like turned into like plant form or whatever. Like
Kurama.
Yeah, so he ends up like they all kind of have their moment, and the dude with the sunglasses also shows up. He doesn't fight. Like he's just like, oh, I'm so fucking swole. I'm
only at 10% power.
I'm only at 10%. Oh, fucking wait. You're gonna make me go full power. Yeah, he shows up, but he's not like. I don't think he like actually really fights until like the very end, and then he's not even kind of doing it. So remember when they fight? So basically the whole end of the show is they find the Yuki Onna, the short dude's sister or whatever, or not sister. So that's kind of where it leaves off at. So like they do the training and he learns how to use the spirit gun, and they kind of get to saving the girl. And they do a mini version of the Dark Tournament, but not really. So I'm guessing if they go next season, they'll do a proper Dark Tournament, because that's what people kind of want to see. Because that arc goes on so long, they just were like, "Fuck it, we're just gonna end it here." Like,
I mean, to be honest, like there's a lot about Yu Hakasho, and if you haven't seen the original series, definitely watch it. Like it's worth your time. Like if you can like look past the outdated like cringiness, like what they thought was funny at the time, parts that they decided to animate and put into the story. Cool.
All right.
Just that.
So you know how
It's a good fucking story.
So you know how the powers kind of work in Yu Hakasho? That's kind of how it does in Jujutsu Kaisen, but Jujutsu Kaisen becomes a lot more convoluted than this does. So, like in this one, they have like spirit energy or whatever, and then everyone has their own take on how they use it. That's kind of how they do it in Jujutsu Kaisen a little bit. And then, like, in this, they're also kind of exercising or sending spirits back to the demon world or whatever. So they kind of delve into that, into the whole plot where the guy is trying to drill into the demon world. So the long-haired rich guy, he shows up. He's like the main bad guy, I guess. So he's in it.
Wait, so how do they do Kurabara? Is he still saying like, "Oh, don't give up on me, you're a meshy"?
He does.
Like
He
anything like
does.
that?
So, dude, he's actually really funny. Actually, in the very first episode, he beats the shit. Urameshi just beats the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And like it's so comedic. Like they do like a time skip. Like he's just like, he just keeps like
yeah,
coming
we're
at
friends
him.
now.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you next time." It's like, I went
Oh
easy
my
on you,
God.
and then they're like, "Dude, just stop." So Urameshi, like, they do the, he dies, comes back, and he's
Yeah.
and they like, okay, like the first episode is dealing with, when the stupid flies. Do you remember the episode where like they have the stupid demon flies that are like turning people into monsters? That's what
Kind of.
So that's what they kind of go with. So there's this demon fly that's turning people into fucked up. It's so funny because people are like possessed or whatever, and like this bully kid is just like moving around like he's like flying all over the place, and it's just fun, dude. Like I think if you did watch the show or the original,
I watched the original show a lot.
I think you'd probably like it then, because and it would probably be like a similar thing to how your wife was reacting to One Piece. You'd probably have
we didn't do this yet.
Yeah,
We
or
already skipped past that.
yeah. The other thing is the baby dude.
Oh my God.
He's not. So he's like, how in Dark Tournament he turns into like adult form or whatever.
Yeah,
So
vaguely.
he's kind of already in that form when you first meet him. He's not in the baby form when they first introduce him. And and then the love interest, Keiko, she's a little bit better in this. She has a little bit more to do, I guess. I
mean, yeah, she's a spirit that's definitely ages older than him, and is trying to groom him.
Well, no, not his helper,
thousands of years.
Not the Reaper, bitch. I'm talking about his human like side.
Oh,
bitch.
I'm getting that mixed up. My bad.
Yeah, she's cool too. I mean, she's like I said.
Let her groom me.
Oh yeah, dude. She's actually I mean, this one she's Anyway, dude, please watch it. You'd probably enjoy it more than I did, or at least for what it is. So there's two more shows we'll talk about that we watched or are anticipating. So Invincible season 2,
part 2.
Well, part 2 is coming up. I watched part 1. Did you watch part 1?
I watched what I could remember being part 2 because they decided to go about releasing each episode in like a week by week period. And I know we talked about this. I don't like it because it gets me confused. There's already so much content out there that I'm going to be wanting to watch that. And if it's going to be releasing on the same week as, say, something else that I'm really into, and it's going to make me choose between the two, and I'm going to forget about one or the other. And it's not because I don't dislike the other one more than the other. It's because, like, who knows? Like, maybe it's a storyline that I'm more interested in that week that's going to persuade me to watch that show more than the other. Like, that's all I really have to say about that. Like, I enjoy the series. Like, 100% I enjoy the series. But that's the thing.
I guess so. Okay, without giving too much away, I mean, the Viltrumites do come back. At some, they do show up. I guess if you're trying to wait out the next part of the season's coming out later in March, so you could always just wait until, I don't know, end of March or April, and the show will probably be done. So I'll probably, I'm pretty caught up already. I like where it's going. Some people are disappointed because the ant people aren't as sexy as they were in the comics. Whatever. I don't know why
Rage.
people were mad about that, but
Oh,
because like, why would
can't get hard to this?
Yeah, like, oh, these ants aren't sexy at all. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Dude, I mean, Invincible's a good ass show, and I didn't watch the spin-off series. But it's dark, dude. Like, it gets pretty bad sometimes, and this one it gets pretty bad too at some points.
I mean, Image Comics makes like people, dude. Read your fucking comics, dude. If you really think that this is like the best thing ever, read some Image Comics. Like, look in their backlog, dude. Like, really,
I wouldn't say it's
surprise
the
yourself.
best. I think it's just.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like people are really like giving this series like critical acclaim and sometimes unwarranted critical acclaim.
Well, I mean, they took a chance. Look, I think what happened was Amazon or someone was looking for.
They threw money into it.
Yeah.
Seth Rogen's in this shit. He's a voice actor. You think he has money? He does.
Look, I mean, superhero thing was, it's a ball that's rolling, and it's doing something different and interesting that keeps people wanting back for more.
Yeah.
So, and maybe those other side things you're talking about, maybe those will get picked up one day. Who knows? Or maybe not.
I mean, they've been talked about. They've been used. Which one was it? Super villains. Here, hold on. Keep talking. I want to look it up really quick.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, like the blue guys come back, and I don't know. Invincible is one of those shows that I really enjoy watching. It's a little different than most other superhero shows or animation, and I think some of my friends even got interested. They're like, okay, I want to read the graphic novels and read on ahead of what's happening. So I think what it's doing is it's getting people interested into, buying that content and looking into, what does happen. And for the most part, I think the show is pretty faithful to the graphic novels. So.
Okay, so I was a little off. So I thought that Invincible was made by like the same person that ended up making Jupiter's Legacy, and that's not correct at all. But this does actually bring a point about it. Jupiter's Legacy was put on Netflix, and on top of that, the one that I was thinking of was Super Crooks, which was also brought to Netflix.
Oh yeah, I heard of Jupiter's. Like I didn't watch it, but I did
never
hear good
watched
things.
Jupiter's Legacy, but I did watch Super Crooks, and I loved it, and I binged it. The thing is like these things were written by Mark Miller, and
yes, he's the famous.
Yeah.
Damn, Super Crooks was very highly.
That was really good. I really, really, really liked Super Crooks a lot.
Okay, maybe I'll take a look at that one.
Oh yeah, you won't be disappointed. That one is like straight to the point. Hey, I'm a superhero that's not being regarded as like such, and I'm still growing. So it's like a slice of life with him finding his own personality, him taking like a path that you definitely wouldn't take.
Is this that show with the famous dancing scene that everyone memes about?
Yes. If it's the one that I'm thinking of, then yes, it's good. So here's the thing about Super Crooks and I want to put it right here. So Super Crooks, I'm not sure which one came first, but there was the one in DC because I know that Super Crooks is Marvel based.
Okay.
So in DC they had their own version. It had Captain Frost, Captain Cool, or Captain Frost. DC Captain Cold. There you go. So in that series, it is called Rogues.
That looks
So
fucking stupid.
Rogues from DC was basically the same storyline as Super Crooks.
Oh, it does
And
have
that's
this
all I'm gonna
loser.
say about that.
New Earth. Who else is in? The fuck?
Yeah, so they're all stealing from each other, and that's important to know because like that's just gonna
Is this like a Flash
tell.
thing?
Wait, what's that?
Wait, who's part of the Rogues? Former members?
So the Rogues, you have
Captain Boomerang,
the
the Pipe, Dr. Alchemy, Girder, Golden Glider.
Really? He's in here?
I guess.
If Captain Boomerang was in it, he wasn't that noticeable. He really wasn't.
So it seems like not like Suicide Squad, but something Flash villains who were former.
You know what? I think Captain Boomerang was probably. I don't want to give away too much about that.
So
shit,
okay,
but
there were some set of Flash villains who formed an informal union and alliance. So they're like the Spider-Man Sinister Six, I guess.
I suppose that's one group of superheroes or anti-heroes that I don't know about. But yeah, so here's the thing. That series that we were just talking about, Super Crooks, it's a ripoff. Dude, it's a ripoff of a ripoff, is what we fucking like determined. And
so a ripoff of a ripoff, but the ripoff is better.
I'd say so.
Okay.
I mean, that's not to say that like Super Crooks is really good, or better than the other one. I think it's enjoyable. I mean, it's following a formulaic process.
I mean, there's the thing you made an interesting point is like I think DC and Marvel, they have it ripping. I mean, look at Thanos, and then there's Darkseid, and then if you go back, there's videos on who came first and whatever, like Plastic Man versus like Mr. Fantastic and shit like that.
Yeah.
It goes back, and I think even like Plastic Man came first. So if you go back, you can find all this shit out. Anyway, speaking of comics or graphic animation, whatever, we did have this show in the coming out to 2024 or looking forward to The Last Airbender. I did get a chance to actually watch the entire series, which was about 8 episodes. Look, I'm a fan of Avatar: Last Airbender. I never watched the live action movie because I knew it was shit. Some people are saying this is worse than that. I don't think that's the case. While I think they captured a lot of the original show, going back to the original point that we were talking about One Piece, the thing I was asking myself today is, what does this add or bring to the table that the original show didn't do? And again, we go to the point where it is kind of consolidating or an abridged version of that first season. It doesn't skip too much. It adds just about all the important points. I think the relationship between Iroh and Zuko is very strong in this one, as it was in the but then again in the original is already strong. So the visuals and the effects, again, I mean, the animation in the original was fine the way it was. Seeing it in live action doesn't amplify it. I guess the stakes or the battles, seeing people get burned and hurt, you do see some graphic stuff here and there, and I don't know. I want to say I liked it. Were you ever a fan of the original series or no?
I always saw it as like something to watch, but growing up, I mean,
it was kind of like
I don't want to say it in a way that's like disrespectful to like the craft of like what was actually like put into creating Avatar, the last Airbender.
I mean, people.
because
Okay,
yeah, yeah, because
no,
like people they hold it to high regard,
they
and
do.
I've always like seen it as a high regarded television series that was an anime, and I didn't see this as like, oh shit, I should really go and see it because it's going to be doing it a huge service to what it's been known for and what it represents. No, it didn't strike me as that. Like, if anything, it makes me want to watch the original more.
And I think that's what it's doing good. A lot of people are, I saw the Netflix, and the first thing that showed up was the animated series, which they did add to Netflix a while ago. So you can see the entire series on Netflix or whatever. Um, and then every episode does always open up with in association with Nickelodeon. The Nickelodeon, I guess, is getting their piece or whatever. They did also have a series. What I have liked to see is if they did not a live action recreation, but if they redid like Legends of Korra or did the next Avatar.
I would watch that.
Legends of Korra was also interesting. Like I held back on watching that for a very long time, and ended up kind of liking it because in that show, instead of like an overarching story between all 3 seasons, each season is its own kind of thing. Avatar is a bit more grand and there's a little bit more at stake, but a lot of stuff I would have liked to see a continuation of this universe, I guess, instead of, because again, like I don't know what they're really adding besides, oh, it's live action. Like they added, like there's a few story bits I need to go back and confirm, because they do add some stuff to Zuko that make him a little bit more interesting. But then again, I don't know if the series already did that or I just forgot. What?
Like, like, don't they make him like less misogynistic? Apparently, is like a thing of concern.
Oh yeah, Sokka. I mean, Sokka. He still gets bitches though. I mean, come on. Like he in the show, he just like flirts, and I guess it's a little tame in this one. He's not as. It wasn't even that perverted in the begin with. I don't know why people. I think what it does is you by the end of this season, they're kind of like, oh, like wow, you guys grew a lot, and I'm like, did they? Like, because Sokka and Katara, like they have a few character building scenes here and there, but it's kind of like not as fleshed out, I guess, as the series. And of course, in the animated series, there's a lot more time and different episodes given to some of these people, but they're kind of like rushing a little bit as far as making them to where they are, or advancing them as characters. So I don't know, man. I guess I would still recommend it. I enjoyed it if you're a previous like Avatar enjoyer. If you've never watched the series, it's a good place to start. But if it gets you curious, definitely go watch the original.
Yeah, I think this would be the opposite experience that I had watching the One Piece series with my wife, because
What makes
she's
you
never
not?
heard of Airbender.
Ah,
Like,
okay.
because Airbender was basically just an American made anime. That's all it was.
Yeah,
She knows
and
nothing of this.
yeah. So I think it's like I would love to rewatch this with my wife too, and be like, hey, check this out. Like you might like it. It is a little goofy, and some of the costumes, like I don't know, some of the actors look like they're wearing wigs or like cosplayers or something
Yeah.
sometimes, but it's fine. I really like when they go to the Kyoshi Warrior Island, and they meet some of the characters there. He takes the form of Kyoshi, and I don't know, some of the makeup and costumes look absolutely amazing, and some of the but other characters don't look so great, like Azula, which whatever. But it's a good place to start to see if you're curious in that world, because in the actual animated series, there's a lot more going on as far as, learning about different creatures and, what they do good parts of also explaining like legends and stories. Like the way they do storytelling is very, and how it was in the original show. Everything seems so grand, or there's something at stake, or there's something ancient and spiritual about everything that's going on. So like everything that's good about the show is good about what was in the original series. So again, what it adds is, I guess, it adds a better live action representation than it did the original movie. But other than that, if you're a fan, definitely check it out. And if you're still curious about more, rewatch the original series. So that ends our shows for 2023. Tune in next time for anticipated shows for 2024. Thanks for listening.